Firefly's release is quite controversial. Many players are under the assumption that she is going to be the most underwhelming limited damage dealer due to a couple of reasons, such as relying too much on very specific supports. In this guide, I will try to clear up most misconceptions about Firefly and properly analyze where she stands in the current meta. If you found the guide helpful, consider liking the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on up-to-date information. I always read everyone's comments, so feel free to ask questions that were not answered in the video. Without further ado. A member of the Eidolons hunters, clad in a set of mechanized armor known as Sam. Her character is marked by unwavering loyalty and steely resolve. Engineered as a weapon against the swarm, she experiences accelerated growth, but a tragically shortened lifespan. She joined the Eidolons hunters in a quest for a chance at life, seeking to defy her fated demise. Firefly is a 5-star fire element character that specializes in enhancing her own abilities to deal high toughness damage and deal massive amounts of damage through super breaks. She follows the destruction path. At the start of battle, Firefly is guaranteed to have 50% of her energy filled. With a single skill cast, she will be able to use her ultimate, which allows herself to act again immediately and enhance her abilities. By reaching 210 speed, Firefly will be able to act 4 times within the complete combustion state. Her enhanced skill will have boosted toughness damage dealing capabilities, which leads to faster weakness breaks. When she hits enemies that are in a broken state, her A4 trace would allow her to deal super break damage. When Firefly exits the complete combustion state, she then needs to cast her skill twice to get enough energy for her ultimate. Then, the whole cycle repeats. When using Firefly, here are the things you need to take note of. Her normal skill is single target, and would consume her own HP by 40% in exchange for 60% max energy regen. Additionally, it would advance her action forward by 25%. This advance forward helps whenever she exits her complete combustion state, since it would normally require Firefly to use 2 skill casts to re-enter her buffed state. Her enhanced skill would restore her max HP by 25% and change the attack into blast type. Additionally, she would deal extra damage based on the amount of break effect she currently has. It is safe to assume that you would have more than 360% break effect stat in battle. So to keep things short, the main target would receive 272% of Firefly's attack as fire damage, and the adjacent targets would receive 136% of Firefly's attack as fire damage. However, Firefly's enhanced skill is more about its toughness damage. It deals 90 toughness damage on the main target and 45 on the adjacent targets. Taking into account the increased weakness break efficiency coming from Firefly's ultimate, her enhanced skill would do 135 toughness damage on the main target and 67.5 on the adjacent targets. To put that into perspective, most elite enemies only have 300 toughness. Remember that the super break damage formula takes into account toughness damage. The higher the toughness damage is, the higher your super break damage would be. I mentioned earlier that by reaching 210 speed, Firefly will be able to act 4 times within her complete combustion state. Your top priority is to give Firefly 150 speed. Her ultimate would provide the extra 60 speed needed to hit 210 speed. The reason for this is due to the fixed 70 speed of the complete combustion state, meaning it only lasts for 142 action value. You will need 210 speed to act 4 times within 142 action value. Firefly's technique allows herself to inflict fire element weakness on enemies at the start of each wave for 2 turns. This technique makes Firefly so flexible that she could brute force stages that are not innately weak to her element. Just note that it doesn't eliminate the enemy's damage resistance to fire element. Since the technique applies for each wave, it could potentially keep breaking enemies with low toughness, and allow you to keep triggering certain effects that require weakness breaks. For example, Firefly could be great when farming with Himeko. Due to the lack of good modifiers or any other passives that could boost Firefly's raw damage, she heavily relies more on breaking the enemies to inflict fire break, and deals super break damage while enemies are still in broken state. This means that she won't scale at all with any critical build. We will keep this in mind as we move forward. This is Firefly's Light Cone ranking. As expected, Firefly would deal the most damage if she is equipped with her signature Light Cone. Whereabouts should dreams rest? It provides a huge amount of break effect stats and applies a vulnerability debuff that strengthens the break damage dealt by the wearer. Additionally, it slows down the enemy, which lengthens the super break damage window. Interestingly, this Light Cone has the base attack of a 4-star Light Cone, which decreases the effectiveness of Firefly's A6 trace. Next, we have Rank 5 Fall of an Aeon and Rank 1 Something Irreplaceable. These two Light Cones give Firefly a high amount of attack stats, which is converted into extra break effect stats through her A6 trace. Fall of an Aeon could rank higher if the battle is dragged. What holds it back is its wind-up time. Something Irreplaceable is quite good because it has a high base attack and reliable attack increase. However, before moving on to the next section, I would like to emphasize that this damage ranking is quite misleading, as it only takes into account individual performance. When the whole team is taken into account, Firefly's signature Light Cone would leave every other option in the dust. For the Cavern Relics, nothing beats the new set, Iron Cavalry against the Scourge. It provides a decent amount of break effect stat, but most importantly, it allows super break damage to ignore 25% of the enemy's defense. Aim for an attack body and speed main stat for the boots. For the Planar set, nothing beats the new set. Forge of the Calpagni Lantern. It provides a 6% speed increase to help Firefly reach 150 speed. When the wearer hits an enemy with fire weakness, their break effect is increased by 40% for one turn. This 40% increase is even better than all of Talia's break effect stats combined. Aim for a break effect rope and attack main stat for the sphere. Other gearing options will be listed down in the final build section. Firefly's first Eidolon allows her enhanced skill to ignore 15% of the target's defense. Additionally, this attack would not consume skill points. This Eidolon works in synergy with the defense ignore of the new Cavalry Relic set. Remember that stacking defense reductions only makes the damage increase even stronger, unlike other stats that stacks diminishingly. Obviously, this Eidolon would also help a lot with your team's skill point economy, considering Firefly would normally consume a lot of skill points. The damage increase from E0 to E1 is around 9%. Firefly's second Eidolon grants herself an extra turn when any of her attacks defeat or break an enemy in complete combustion state. This effect can only be triggered again after one turn. This particular Eidolon has one of the strongest effects if we are to consider the E2 effect of other limited characters. Considering that Firefly tends to break enemies using her first enhanced skill upon entering complete combustion state, she immediately benefits from this Eidolon's effect. If her third enhanced skill defeats an enemy, then she would trigger the Eidolon's effect for a second time. This means that Firefly could potentially act a total of 6 times within a single ultimate. The damage increase from E0 to E2 could range from 35% to 60%. Firefly's fourth Eidolon grants herself 50% effect resistance in complete combustion state. Combine this with Firefly's effect resistance coming from her traces and talent, she would become nearly immune to any type of debuff. With a single effect resistance substat roll, she would become completely immune. Firefly's final Eidolon grants herself 20% fire element damage resistance penetration, and 50% increase in weakness break efficiency on any of her enhanced attacks. The resistance penetration is pretty straightforward, but the increase in weakness break efficiency means her enhanced skill would be able to reduce toughness by 180 on the main target and 90 on the adjacent targets. Remember that super break damage takes into account toughness damage, which means her super break damage coming from her A4 trace would become even stronger. The damage increase from E0 to E6 could range from 93% to 134%. Let's start with Firefly's best team. Firefly's best teammates are the Harmony Trailblazer, Ruan Mei, and Gallagher. In the first place, there really aren't many options when it comes to choosing her best supports. This is the exact reason why this information is pretty much repeated over and over. Harmony Trailblazer in specific is mandatory for Firefly. You don't need crazy math or extremely detailed analysis for this. Firefly's A4 trace allows herself to do 50% super break damage against broken enemies, while Trailblazer's backup dancer effect by default is 100% super break damage. This translates to a 200% super break damage increase for Firefly. Make it even stronger depending on the amount of enemies in the field through the Harmony Trailblazer's A2 trace. Don't get me wrong though, this doesn't mean that Firefly is weak by herself. In fact, on-paper calculations show that she is almost as strong, if not as strong as Acheron when it comes to individual performance. Just that her support options are much more limited, and Firefly's synergy with the Harmony Trailblazer is just that powerful. Ruan Mei and Gallagher's synergy with Firefly is pretty straightforward. As for alternatives, you can go for any support that reduces enemy defense, damage resistance, or could apply vulnerability debuffs, as all of these are able to increase Firefly's super break damage. This could be Pela, Silverwolf, and Gwynaphin. Gwynaphin in particular stands out because she could benefit from Firefly's fire weakness application, while also helping reduce the enemy toughness, which allows Firefly to get more super break damage out of her enhanced skills. Then there are supports that could provide extra turns for Firefly to increase her attack frequency under the complete combustion state. This could be Sparkle or Hanya. I mentioned them specifically because of how they help alleviate the skill point problems of pairing Firefly and the Harmony Trailblazer. When using Hanya, she would need to help Firefly reach pseudo 280 speed in complete combustion state. Specifically, an E4 Hanya equipped with a rank 5 Dance needs to use her ultimate on Firefly immediately after Firefly performs her first enhanced skill. This setup would allow Firefly to get a 5th action within complete combustion state. However, this requires Firefly to be at 176 speed outside her buffed state, and Hanya needs to reach 200 speed after she triggers her Eidolons speed buff. Hanya's 60% attack increase is also a 60% break effect increase or higher for Firefly. Overall, Firefly is an extremely powerful damage dealer who will sit on top of the meta. Should you try to pull or build Firefly if you get the chance? Yes. There's a lot of wrong information out there when it comes to Firefly. For example, some would say she is extremely weak without the Harmony Trailblazer. The real reason she seems weak without the Harmony Trailblazer is that Firefly doesn't really have many options when it comes to boosting her super breaks. Also, the synergy is just that powerful that it seems like Firefly looks underwhelming without the Harmony Trailblazer. The fact is, Firefly's base kit is already almost as strong, if not as strong as Acheron's base kit. Again, it's just more of a support issue than anything. Acheron easily reaches her full potential by just being with 2 Nihility characters. I highly recommend Firefly 2 for beginners, simply because Firefly mostly doesn't care about element weakness. She is extremely comfortable and easy to use, especially with the fact that the Harmony Trailblazer is a free character. When I was testing Firefly, she could pretty much zero cycle up to floor 11 on auto in the current Memory of Chaos with her best team. It just goes to show how both powerful and easy to use she is. Definitely a high value pick if you do try to get her. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.